what she would suggest moving forward with this. I would just like to ask for her expertise on that, which would be the best route to go.
Go ahead.
Through your mayor, Logal, that is solely the discretion of council.
Oh, all right.
So at this point, I do not, I will not provide you direction as to how you should proceed with this matter.
I was just looking at the wording, and I really don't think we need to use convoluted, because there was documents handed in, not at the appropriate time, so it was not convoluted. So I would not say it was convoluted. It was reworked and reworked and reworked. So I was just looking for the simplest way to get this to the first step and then the second step. So if you would like us to move in that direction.
I would suggest that it is pretty hard to understand all of that we have in there now. If you make it simpler, then we should do that.
Okay.
So to make it simpler, I would agree with what Mary Catherine's saying then. So vote down my amendment and then let's start new to exactly ask what we want. Then we're not dealing with anything convoluted. I was just trying to make it quicker, that let's get rid of the facility assessment and keep the rest, but let's just vote it down then and then start brand new and tell me exactly what you want.
I'm going to call a vote. All in favor of this motion? Anybody opposed?
Sorry, Mayor Logal?
Yes.
Sorry, at this point, the motion on the floor is the amendment to remove the facility condition assessment from the original motion. That's the motion that you have on the floor at this point.
And that would
is a motion to amend.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All in favor of the motion?
to amend it,
To amend.
to
Yeah.
amend to
No.
remove the building assessment.
It was the motion of Greg. Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm voting against it.
Oh,
Move things on.
All in favor?
But hang on,
No,
if
no,
we,
no, no.
Opposed?
All right.
So now we're back to the original.
We're still
Yes.
opposed.
Mary Catherine, you have a.
No, no,
motion?
I'm just ready to oppose that one too. I'm ready, Mayor.
You're going to vote. Okay, we need a motion then. Yes, please. Keep things moving.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, the motion on the floor is that Council of the Corporation of the Township of Haldimand enacts as follows: that Council give direction to the CAO and staff to commence preparations for an RFP to hire a consultant for the completion of a feasibility study of the Haldimand Memorial Arena, and that the RFP also include a facility condition assessment for a 30-year lifespan, detailed needs assessment study, and conceptual designs for 3 options, and that staff bring forward a report and draft RFP to council for approval before issuing, and that the requested reports be funded as recommended by the treasurer, and that the CAO and staff prepare a report and recommendations for the October 8th, 2024 regular council meeting with a plan to proceed with the hiring of a contractor through the tendering process to begin the project by January of 2025.
Everybody clear? We need a motion.
That's it.
All in favor? Opposed? Now we'll take a new motion. Motion is defeated, pardon. Yes. Now we'll take a new motion. Go ahead, Mayor Council.
That council instructs staff to issue the RFP to conduct a needs assessment for the existing Haldimand Memorial Arena. And a question to the clerk, if I may. If we want specific reference included in that RFP to the 2018, I know you've lifted the information. Does that need to be part of this motion, or it's fine as is?
Go ahead.
At this point, through you, Mayor Logal, we can, you can include that. However, at this point, I would recommend that you trust your staff to develop RFPs that are needed based on the information provided and what we have at our fingertips.
I did speak to some professionals in the field, and that there was that little bit of clarity because I was confused about it. And that was just something they said, well, I think, and personally, I'm like, oh yeah, that would make sense, because then all of a sudden you have access to all sorts of information. But no, I will read it, leave it as it reads then, that council instructs staff to issue the RFP to conduct a needs assessment for the existing Haldeman Memorial Arena.
Seconded by Councillor Booth. Does anybody need any discussion on this?
Well, I was just going to say site. Could we add site to that?
What site?
Well, the whole area. That's what I was wanting to.
We're doing a needs assessment.
Oh, yes, sorry, I would say that, I would agree that it should read Haldeman Memorial Arena site.
Sorry, Councillor O'Neill, can I get you to read that again, please?
It's exactly that council instructs staff to issue the RFP to conduct a needs assessment for the existing Haldeman Memorial Arena site. Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor.
Councillor Booth.
And I would agree to this because this, Mike, will address what you're talking about then. So we're going to look at the actual site and get a needs assessment.
Okay.
And this is when the public then has to speak up and tell us what they want.
What's the whole site?
I'm wondering if we could add some conceptual designs for that. That what we might think will come up with because we got the Legion involved in this.
Well, we're not there yet.
It's in there.
Okay. CEO.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor. Councillor Ainsworth, the needs assessment, once it identifies what we should be doing, will provide the opportunity or someone the ability to then say what it could look like. But because we don't know what it is yet, because we don't know what it needs to include, that's what the needs assessment is going to provide us.
Okay.
So that this is just step one, and then we can do the rest.
Okay.
Any other comments, questions? All in favor? Here. Good discussion. Thank you, everyone. Okay,
You're gonna have to find me stuff. That's great.
Mary Kay, did anybody concern stuff?
Yes, Greg did.
Yeah.
Okay, we're moving on to 13.1, which is the 2024 final water budget report. And it is recommended that council approve the 2024 water budget. Pardon me, the council received report F1N 2024-02 2024 final water budget report, and that council approved the 2024 water budget. Can I get a mover and a seconder?
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any discussions?
I can't get anything.
All in favor?
Oh, sorry, I have questions actually.
Okay,
Would one of the members of the water committee please provide a little bit more background for me on this and why it's taken to this point and anything that we need to pay a particular attention to?
right, you're the chair. You want to comment?
I guess I will as the chair through you, your worship. Yes, this is highly unusual for the water budget to be coming to us in October. But because of what's happened with staffing is back in March, could have even been February when we were meeting with the previous treasurer, some things had to be finalized with Lucy. And that just didn't get done. It was brought to the water committee a week or two ago and it wasn't unanimous. There was a member that spoke against passing it, but the reason that I voted for it, and I'm sure Joan can speak for herself, is if we don't pass this water budget now, it's in danger of the 4 items that are in there in capital that won't get done. And one of them is replacing the roof. Lucy has assured us that if we pass it now through council, that at least 3 of the 4 capital items can be purchased. And Aaron has gone and talked to Lucy and checked over the operational accounts and things like that. And Aaron has ensured us that budget time, the water budget will be presented with the regular budget, the same as the library. So this should never happen again. So I'm not necessarily happy with this, to be honest with you, that it's coming this late, but that's what's happened, and hopefully in the future, it'll never happen again.
Go ahead, Mary Catherine.
I have a second question, and it's about the auditing process. This was not part of, because it's its own entity. So it didn't get audited with the municipality, but what is the process for either an audit or a financial review? I'm not sure what that number is, where you have a financial review if you're up to this size of budget and an audit up there. But anyway, do we know what is the requirement for that?
I think, are we getting a little bit off subject? Okay.
So we are,
Okay.
but through you, Mayor, to Councillor O'Neill. So this is my understanding, this is the 2024 budget. So the 2023 was audited as part of the audit review for the township. So this budget will get reviewed when
Okay.
2024 goes to the auditors, which will be done a lot sooner in 2025.
Okay, so
Thank you for clarifying.
slight follow-up, then why doesn't it stand alone as a budget item in our audit then? The same as the library budget, because it is an entity that has to, like, there's regulations about how it has to fund itself.
You have an answer, Mr. Gale?
I do, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So it's supposed to be presented to you as part of the budget. I don't know all of the reasons why it was excluded last
I wanted to
year.
ask the auditor while he was here.
That's correct.
I'll have my question ready for next year.
So as a sidebar though, I did have a conversation with Aaron, our interim treasurer. And if you want to contact, or you want us to on behalf of you, the auditor, and ask the question, we are certainly able to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. The next one is the June 2024 Q2 financial report. It is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Alma Cullivan enact as follows. The council received report F1 FIN 2024-05 June 24th for the second quarter. Final report for information. Mover and a seconder.
Questions to the CAO, but I'm concerned about the capital items. And if I'm reading it right, I see in the capital items there, for example, upgrades to station number 1 for 55,000, upgrades to station number 2 for 25,000, $12,000 that we had for repair to the roof here, $5,000 for a space heater for the arena, which I don't even see on there, so I'm not sure, Aaron, where that is. It shows $1,500 for security upgrade at the arena. But I'm just concerned that none of these have been spent at all. And are we going to get any capital items done with those? Or are we going to be passing them on to next year? I guess is my question.
CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Councillor Booth. So in conversation with Aaron, our interim treasurer, you will see an increase in the capital expenditure reporting in Q3. This is just a matter of catching up on some of the documentation, specifically to Station 2 with the monies that was put forth for the roof repair and the addition of the increases inside. So the upgrading inside the building, we were able to do it at much lesser cost. So council, as I've mentioned before, staff, it has been driving forward in 2024. Regardless of the budget that was approved, we are trying to find all of the dollars that we possibly can to help the township move forward. And so efficiencies are a big deal. And we're trying to find, and we have, where money not necessarily needed to be spent. So I expect that the 2004 budget reporting will come back to council at the end of the year with a significant amount of cost savings. And we hope that that will put the township in a much better financial position moving into 2025. We do hope to identify this in the 2025 budget process as well.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay. That sounds good, except for, I guess my one concern is the big discussion we had at budget time regarding this roof that we said, put $12,000 and let's fix it. So is this roof going to be fixed then this year, or is it intent for staff to fix the roof this year? The upgrades to the station and things like that, I can understand if you're putting them off, but this is something that's affected this library and the community center here for years. And we discussed it to say, let's put this one to bed. Let's fix it. Here's the 12 grand.
Mr. CEO, go ahead.
I will follow up with Jeremy on that and we will arrive at a solution.
Okay, thank you.
Mary Catherine?
Following to Councillor Booth, not just focusing on the capital projects, but as a councillor, council has made available funds for services and capital projects. And there's huge variances at the end of the 6 months. And I recognize that some of them are seasonal, but some others are concerning. And so I look forward to a much more comprehensive report at the end of Q3, and our variance is exceeding 10%. I'd like to see explanations for any variance exceeding 10%. And that is at both directions, above or below budget, because 13 of our 24 departments were coming in substantially below budget at the 6-month point.
I can, that's, in my opinion, or I've seen that many times before, where what happens in January is they get pushed back, or pulled ahead, pushed back. So you're pushing them back, so you don't see them ones in January and February. They come in December, because they try and put it into that year, and then in June, you just don't have everything in, so you're behind. And I expect that's going to continue on because people don't put in the bills quick enough.
I appreciate your comments, Mayor Local, but it's still an open and transparent process. What I am asking for is the information that explains those things.
Thank you. And I guess my other question to you, Mr. CAO, or to your interim treasurer, will we be getting a third quarter report?
Mayor Logan, yes, you absolutely will be getting a third quarter report, much like you'll be getting a fourth quarter report. As you are aware, Aaron took over the interim position not that long ago, so gathering everything up in its entirety does take time. No different than if we were onboarding a new treasurer. I'm excited about the variances, the positive variances for the township. I'm truly excited. And I'm really looking forward to the 2025 budget process. We have a lot of services that require money. We have a lot of deficiencies that require money. I think this is a really positive thing for us to be at. So thank you for moving forward.
Go ahead, Councilor Booth, or I'm sorry, Councilor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor, I just a question, because I know we had this come up when we had our auditor doing the presentation, and I don't see it here, is the library expenses. And everything else seems to be here but that. Will we be seeing that later? Or is that going to come?
Go ahead, Aaron.
The library is on page 5 and 6.
Page 5?
Page 5 is your operations, and page
Yeah.
6, sorry, I don't know what it is.
Page 5 of 8? I don't see it here.
Yeah.
Public works.
So it's only one line, because it's one for operation, and then they only had one capital item.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor of that report? Opposed? Okay. We'll move on to the 2023 financial statements. That's FIN 2024 06 2023 financial statements. It is recommended the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Allen-Haldimand act as follows. council received report FIN 2024-06-2023 financial statements for information, and that council approved the 2023 draft financial statements audited and presented by Baker Tilly ADN LLP on September 17th, 2024 to be finalized, and that council approved the proposed journal entries prepared by Baker Tilly KDN LLP to be posted by staff, and that the council direct the mayor and the interim treasurer to sign the audited letter enclosed in the 2023 draft financial statement package. Are you moving to second? Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconder. Well, I'm sorry, Councillor O'Neill. Any discussion? Go ahead, Councillor O'Neill.
Are there any other items that we need to do before we close the 2023 budget? Sorry, yes, I understand the audit bit, but I know in the past, we had to at the final approve the moves from into and out of reserves, and I'm wondering if that is something we're still going to see come forward.
It's already done, just the journal, that's part of the journal entries as well.
So we're
is-
doing both of them
Yes,
simultaneously?
Yes, so it's approving the journal entries so that I can enter them into the system, and then that fully closes 2023, so I can move into 2024.
Answer your question.
Yes, it just last year it had been done on its own, so that was, I was expecting to see it.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Benefit pack. HR 2024-06 benefit package reviewed for the 10th of October 2024. The council received report HR 2024-06 benefit package review for information, and that council authorized the required changes to bring the staff of Allen McCalderman Township a comprehensive competitive benefit package as of November 2024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Councillor Booth. Any questions or comments? No. Councillor Ainsworth.
Yeah, to you, Mayor. No, I think that's a great idea. Help retain staff and you know, the high price of things now for them to be part of our team. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you. Councillor Booth.
I guess just a quick question from you, through you, your worship, to the treasurer. Is this, Aaron, something that it comes up because it expires in October, November? Is that why Mosey is it Mosey? I read it right. Is that why this comes up?
Yes, so we have our renewal, it starts October 1st, but we also have a meeting with all of the HR who do the benefits. So it's always an ongoing conversation of what do you guys have? What do you guys have? And trying to stay within the realm of keeping competitive as well. I picked these items from last year because these were easy beats to go with easy tasks that people wanted, and they're quick changeovers for our benefits. One being the eye exams, it goes back to OHIP, when OHIP covered half of it. So if you go to yourself wearing glasses, you know, going to the eye doctor is $100 now, so $41, you're still paying the other $60. So it's just little items like that you know that you can push forward and everybody can benefit from it.
Yeah, and I agree with Councillor Mike. I think this is a really good thing for the staff. Sometimes, you know, percentages and money don't mean as much as rather having more benefits. I guess my other concern or question is it talks roughly around $16,000. This is going to then reflect in the budget, right? Like this, hopefully in the 2025 budget is going to show up as something new, because that's fine. I mean, if you want benefits, we'll give you the benefits, but it still counts on our budget. It's not something that just disappears because it's starting in November or December.
Correct, so this year we have enough in our benefits to cover the cost. Going through the 2025 budget, it will be included as an ongoing price.
Okay, thank you.
Your Catherine.
Certainly thinking back to when I was working and we looked at our wage and benefits packages and our working conditions, and we had to decide what it was that we were asking for in a given year. So this works to a raise of approximately $561.60 per year per employee. So, when we're talking about our wage increase, are we as council and as well as a municipality, are we now giving benefits increases and wage increases? I would have preferred to see this come forward as a comprehensive, this is our ask for 2024, rather than a piece now and a piece later. But I do want to make note that I see here, it is an increase to each employee of $561.60 per year.
Wasn't there $15,000?
That's the overall impact on budget, but per employee,
How many employees?
27.
Through your mayor, Councillor O'Neill, before we accept that number that you brought out, I would like to
took
see,
it from here.
you took it from there?
I just multiplied by 12. It told me in here how much it was per month, and I multiplied by 12.
Can you quantify that information?
4160.
Sorry, not you, Aaron. Can you quantify the information as presented?
Mhm. I'm trying to see it again.
So I did break it down. It said the cost would be the 15,000 annually, how much it would be per person, and then it would be at this
4608 a month.
4608. So yes, I did break that down.
Thank you.
Mayor Logan?
Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Logan, to Aaron. What is the percentage over and above the wages? Are we running about 33%? Or are we higher than that? Or is that even something you could come up with?
We are actually running lower than that. We are under 30%. That's why we are able to cover it this year, because last year going into budget, we budgeted wages plus 30% for benefits, and we aren't coming close. So we have the extra funds to.
Oh. Thank you.
Any further questions? Do you have a comparison locally? Are we comparable to Grammy Township, for example, just picking up?
Through conversation, no, we are way under this. These were just quick and easy that from the survey of last year, I knew that employees were interested in. And other than the dental, there were quick, easy changes for our benefit plan.
Thank you. Any further questions? All in favor? That's carried. Next, we have the strategic plan, CLK 2024-27. Strategic plan 2024-2026 for the 10th of October. And the recommendation is the council receive report CLK 2024-27, strategic plan 2024-2026 for information, and the council adopt the strategic plan for 2024 through to 2026. Mover and seconder.
I'll move.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any comments? Go ahead, Councillor Ainsworth.
Through you, Mayor. So when this is all final, will we kind of get a report of where we kind of stand right now in that survey? Or sorry, in the plan? Like, where are we today in that plan?
Go ahead.
So through your Mayor Logo, if you were to approve this plan today, we are on day one. But in terms to expand on that, in terms of getting updates as we go, so we have We will tie it to our budget process, so we will take a look at it retrospectively, realizing that, of course, 2024 goals and accomplishments of the township weren't designed to meet this because it's cart before the horse situation. But we have asked the leadership team to take a look at what they have accomplished in 24 and try to tie it into the priorities and the goals so that we can at least say, you know, we're moving in the direction. And then in the 2025 budget process, we'll also be including our goals for 2025, and those will be tied to the priorities and goals identified within the plan. And we'll be doing, midterm reporting and reporting throughout every council report going forward. If this is adopted, every council report coming forward to you will also have a linkage to the strategic plan and outline the goals and the priority that the report is tied to.
Okay, perfect, awesome.
Catherine, good.
Well, that leads me into the question I had. So let's say housing, which isn't specifically in here because we have to get our house in order to deal with any of these other issues. But what will that look like when another super important item, whether it's housing or physician recruitment, whatever it is, has an item to bring forward? How will that fit together?
So the strategic plan is again to guide the direction of council and the corporation, and it's a back to basics approach to get, like, as you said, get the house in order. So the plan is a commitment to this is what we are deeming priority. It's not ruling out anything else. It is a living document to a degree, but it would have to be up to council's decision as to whether or not they wanted to entertain anything that is outside the scope of the strategic plan, because it would be essentially what this plan does is outline where you are committing your staff and financial resources to and the direction that you want to go. So if there's something that comes again from left field, that's up to council to consider at that moment, if it's something that they want to pursue.
And at the same time, those things would have to be part of the COVID. You have to support them. Right. Thank you. Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
Just digging a little deeper into that. So this is all the big picture at the top, and then we have each of our departments. Would some of those other things start to show up? And I know, for example, when the official plan, I don't think it's referenced in here, the update of the official plan in the planning department, that those are the things where we would see some of those other things addressed at that level, at the departmental level.
Through Mayor Logal. Yes, that's correct. So if it's something that can be dovetailed, it might not be specifically mentioned within the strat plan, but if it's related and correlated to a goal, there's some pretty broad plans. If we were to identify each and every single policy that we wanted to update.
Yeah, no, I was just sort of
So
trying to get the structure, because obviously this is the umbrella, but digging a little bit deeper under the umbrella, and
I'd like to make a quick comment. I thought it was an excellent presentation, very good. And I think you had something to do with it, so I appreciate that work. I think it's a 3-year plan that's both aggressive and attainable. So I think if all staff is on board, you can do a lot with it. Mike mentioned about annual reporting, and I think you've got it every midterm or something like that. It might be smarter to do it on every 6 months and just ask me, because if you get the midterm, mid part of the year, we're busy as heck on a lot of different stuff, and then you take it 6 months later, and then we're into the budget and everything else. So perhaps you can make it a spring and fall type of update for consideration. Anybody else have any more comments?
No.
All in favor? Motion's carried. Moving right on to the Grafton Municipal Office Facility Update and 2024 Council Meetings. I guess I should prepare to read this. The council received report CLK 2024-29, the Grafton Municipal Office and 2024 Council Meetings for information, and that council authorized the municipal clerk to schedule all future regular council and regular council planning meetings at the Centerton Community Center or any other location deemed appropriate by the clerk until further notice, and that this resolution of council shall be deemed as serving the public notice of the location change until further notice as required under procedural bylaw 1102023, section 3-4. Mover and a seconder. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor. Seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any comments or discussions?
I'm just getting my note here, so I could go I could go afterwards if that's okay.
Anybody ready?
Just takes a while to bring.
Councillor Ainsworth.
Library thing.
Yeah, through you, Mayor. So I guess my concerns are, if I think back a couple meetings ago, we gave staff the okay to go and get the raccoons out of the roof and get that all cleaned up. As that happened, right? Now, did more move in? So I'm just wondering if we, because of the structural review, is that going to come in to the office to like, for if they're going to start ripping the walls out to find out if that structure is any good along with everything else that's going on with us? I could see us moving everybody around, but if that's not going to happen in the near future, can we just clean up the raccoons, maybe trim those trees out front so they don't allow them just to walk up the tree and onto the roof, and carry on that way? And the other thing, do we have to notify the health board if we have issues like that? What is our requirements as an employer for that? Along with, I don't know if the Board of Labor has to be also called this also, but definitely probably the health board. So I'm just kind of, I'm not saying we're jumping the gun or we're, but I'm just kind of wondering, if we just cleaned out the raccoons and cleaned it up, are we still okay to keep our offices and everything there until we make the decision to rip it apart and find out what the structure's doing?
Through you, Mayor Logo, thanks for the question, Councillor Ainsworth. So where we have gotten to with it is, number one, it's identified that no matter what you do with the building, you're going to be putting money into it. That poses a bigger question. Council then needs to decide, are you going to put money into it? As you are well aware, decisions of council over the last weeks and months have been a lot about money. Does the municipality have a couple million sitting aside or several $100,000 sitting aside to invest into that building? That's not for me to answer. That is for council to answer. With respect to the building and the structural integrity and the work detail that needs to be done, I think it's a pretty good foregone conclusion that staff can't be there, nor would you want them there. We had a meeting with our department heads to consider the evaluation, the structural assessment visual that was done on the building, the answers that were provided, and the conclusion within that report. Your department heads were unanimous in the decision that they felt it was time to move. What we are doing is trying to look at the least evasive impact on the community, on council, residents, the most inexpensive opportunity for us to do. And we also have to maintain service for the residents, none of which can happen overnight. So the recommendation coming forward, when you consider health and safety, it's a big deal. And our requirements under health and safety with respect to Ministry of Labor are significant. And as you are well aware, that we need to do everything we can to protect the worker. To say that the building is going to fall down tomorrow, anybody could sit back and argue that, and we could probably argue that for many days on end. The thing is, okay, so when? We know that We have some significant ailments that are happening, including the bricks are literally falling off the building. So council has made decision to not spend money in other areas and do spend money in other areas. You need to make the decision, is this an area that you want to spend money? And in order for you, so if we consider the conversation around the room about a needs assessment for a recreational facility, in order to spend money, you would it would be highly recommended that you do the exact same thing in this regard as to what is your needs assessment with respect to a municipal building. And does it make sense for you to continue to put money into this building when really all you need to do is look at it? It's a beautiful historic building. There's no question, but it is in need of some significant remediation. And council's decision is to decide whether you spend tax dollars to repair the building or preserve it. But regardless, we have a responsibility as staff to ensure that services are continued for the residents. That's really what it comes down to.
Thank you. Catherine?
Through you to our CAO, you brought your concerns to us. Council listened to your concerns. Council followed your direction and passed a motion directing you to issue an RFP for a qualified company to conduct an engineering assessment of the Grafton Municipal Office. That was a month ago. Where are we now?
Excellent question. Through your mayor to Councillor Neal. So in doing so, I reached out to Pinchin, was the company that did our visual structural assessment. And the answer that I got back, and I will read it for you. This depends on a couple of factors. For example, do wall finishes include asbestos? If they do, abatement and safe removal of the finishes may require closure of these sections, probably the evacuation of the building. The other factor is related to how thorough you want the structural assessment to be. If you want a comprehensive assessment, the finishes throughout the whole building needs to be removed in order to expose the structure from the interior side. If you want an assessment of a flagged area only, it would only necessarily require the full evacuation of the building. Given the information received from the forensics engineers, it was not prudent to move forward with an RFP because we needed to have a further conversation. Because at this point, anything further at that building will involve movement.
Go ahead, Mayor Gaza. Thank you, Dave.
Pinchin's are environmental engineers. That's their specialty. What we're looking for here, I believe, is a structural engineering assessment. And I am somewhat confused. You are outlining things that need to be considered, but I'm still uncertain why we can't proceed with an RFP for a structural engineering assessment.
Through you, Mayor Lobo. Councillor O'Neill, I need to correct you. So Pinchin division that we've been working with is building science and sustainability, not environmental. The second thing is, based on the information provided to staff upon research, is that it needed to be identified to council that you were into a significant amount of dollars if we go anywhere forward with the building.
Thank you, Mayor.
Through you, Mayor Lobo, to Dave. I understand that why the RFP isn't here. We did talk about it at the first part of the meeting. And it's kind of like a big red flag. I just wonder, did they give you any idea how much an assessment of the building would be, or what it would, or the RFP, what we'd be looking at, and the steps? So it would be to get the RFP and then figure out how much this building repair is going to be. I guess the second part of it is, when I look at where everybody would move, how sustainable is that?
Through you, Mayor Logo, Deputy Mayor, so what we went with is a foregone conclusion that has been proven time and time again. It costs far much more money to renovate an existing building or an old building to this degree than it does to build a new one. I am not recommending that we build a new one because there are many things that we need to look at.
Mhm.
Merely the proposal that is before council or our best recommendation is the least expensive and the least amount of interruption to public service. These are existing infrastructure. The municipality does not have a depth or wealth of infrastructure for us to go to. Again, it is the least impactful upon other services within the community. We have looked at other options, but based on the information received and based on the feel of the information received, what I am recommending is the least invasive. From there, we can ensure continuity of services to the public. And then we can move forward in our planning process as to what are we going to do. So in one aspect, it is taking the pressure off of council to make a monetary decision. And so that we can appropriately look at it and decide what is it that we're going to do. And I'll remind council that there will be some sales of property in Grafton currently, and we're considered this with regards to what we own in the township and what we don't with respect to a roads issue. We only own one driveway into the Grafton building, and that's the exit. We don't own the entrance. So there's multi-factors that we need to consider. And again, that is why the thought process that has gone into what it is that we're recommending that we do to council.
Good.
Thank you, through your worship. I guess respectfully, Dave, I disagree with some of your argument there. There was a motion from council that we decided to do an RFP to have a company come out and take a look and tell us what's wrong with the building. I have seen RFPs in my past time when they have to do structural stuff that you put in the RFP that some of these things will be done after staff hours or on the weekend. And I report, the Pincent report that we had done said prior to disturbing finishes, they must be tested for hazardous substances to prevent contamination. So if you look at it, I believe, first of all, like Mike was sort of saying, I have a concern we're moving staff prematurely, because if we do the RFP and they come in the company, we work with them to say, go ahead, you can go upstairs. No staff is allowed upstairs right now. Do whatever you want, tear a floor up, rip a wall open. You can go downstairs in the basement where the crawl space is and do everything you want. That's not going to affect. Only when they have to come in the office space where staff is, that work can be done after hours or on the weekend. And when they're opening up a piece of drywall or anything, they can use the proper equipment, the HEPA filters, and seal it off and everything. They inspect it, take pictures, and then they can close it back up. So I like the bit about I'm all for health and safety for the staff and everything too, but I believe until we get a qualified engineer's report that tells us what's wrong with the building, we're moving the staff way too early, and we can't just let the building sit there. Yeah, it's old, but I think I mentioned this before. How much does it cost to fix? Is it a $5,000 fix or is it a $500,000 fix? So until we know what's wrong with it, we need somebody to tell us what it is.
Thank you. Mike, you got any first?
Through you, Mayor. Yeah, I kind of agree with Councillor Booth and a lot of this. And I also, me personally, I mean, we got to have a hub for the municipality for all the residents, and that building's been the hub forever. And coming up in our 2025 budget, can we start looking at ways where we can we can, hold back and for 2025 on some things and start putting the money towards that part of, give up some road work to put in to get their municipal office back up and cleaned up and properly. So, I would be, me personally, I'd like to see us look at things like that. Where can we save money in the budget to put towards that municipal office? So we don't, instead of doing 6 roads next year, say we only do 3, that kind of thing.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Through your Mayor Logal, I was gonna ask Jeremy a question, but he's not there. And then I guess the other thing is, Dave, you were saying to Dave through you, Mayor Logal, that Pynchon would not be the company that would get into the structural part of it. Is that what you're saying? So the Pynchon would be done, it would be the structural, another company that would be doing it?
So what has been identified is that an RFP was asked to be developed for the building, right? There was no timelines put on it. This is the information that we've been presented. We have, we literally picked bricks out of the garden up to the front steps.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm presenting the information to council. The CEO is responsible for the staff. I'm identifying what I feel is the best recommendation for the township right now, today. I completely understand and respect everybody's opinion. I'm going with and bringing forward what is the recommendation from us based on the department heads gathering and assessment of the visual assessment. I fully understand that council can make another decision. I would strongly advise you that making a decision such as this, you will accept you are inadvertently accepting a higher level of liability. And truly it is your decision.
Mike?
So can we, with the help of our staff, put together again, like, okay, if we're going to move the people around, what are we going to do with that building? We need to collectively say, are we going to keep that building? Are we going to tear it down? Or are we just going to leave it and let it sit there? I think if we had that information too, with this report would be easier to make a decision. And that's, and then we as collectively could vote on whether we're going to set money aside to fix that building in the next year or 2 years, whatever. And this is just like a temporary basis. We need to find that out. If we could have some kind of consensus where we think we want to go with that building. That would help with this report and help with us making a decision.
Go ahead.
Through your Mayor Logal, the mayor and I were looking at, or the mayor was studying the issues and the issues moving forward with raccoons and all the excrement and the issues with that. I guess that would be my first step that I would be concerned about. And would it be the plan? And I did read through this to get the staff out and then bring in the company to see what it needs. But I guess you would still need an RFP for that. So it's going to be a 2-step process. You're seeing that this is the health and safety of the staff is it more for the building or is it more for the raccoons? And what happened, what's been going on and how long they've been running around up there?
Deputy Stover, this will be the 3rd time that we've dealt with them there in the building. It has been remediated before this year. During this year. So I'm not so much concerned about the health and safety of the raccoon. I mean, I wish them all the best every time they cross the road.
I I meant the staff, not the raccoons.
It's two-part things. Your staff's number one concern and priority is customer service. That has been first and foremost, not only in your strategic plan, but council in many of our meetings has suggested that. So I'm not arguing that we still need an RFP at all. Anything you're going to do with that building, you're going to need to do that. What I'm identifying is that, you know, over the next little while, we really need to figure something out. To make a decision to leave staff there is not something I'm prepared to do based on the information forwarded to this date.
Okay, I've listened to everybody's thoughts. I repeat myself and I just like to express them. First of all, I believe that irregardless of what we do, that the raccoons should be prevented from coming back. That should be $4,500 and the whole thing doesn't mean really an awful lot in the whole grand picture. I think it should be done. Even if we do decide to get rid of it, you're gonna have to sell it.
The raccoons in it.
So that's my first thought. I've got the pension report here and I've circled a couple of things. The building exhibits, this is their conclusion. The building exhibits structural and non-structural deficiencies, some of which appear critical. Then it goes on to say that the building deficiencies remain uncertain without further investigation. Concerns about the building structure integrity persist. Addressing these deficiencies imperative to ensure occupancy safety. Then I'm going to read you the priorities. Priority 1, which I tend to agree with, carrying out an intrusive and invasive review of the structural components where concerns are present after testing for hazardous substances is completed. By the way, I don't know if anybody realizes it or not, but I did find some information, Aaron gave it to me, regarding the asbestos in there. Their estimate for that building, we all know it was $7 million, I believe, across the board. That one there is $700,000. So anybody that's going to buy that building is going to give you $700,000 less than what they figure it's worth, in my opinion. The investigation may include exposure, the entire structural concealed behind the wall and ceiling finishes, as well as the crawl space beneath the building to identify the deficiencies. I've been down in that cellar behind in the old demo building, which is the east side there. There's odor comes from there quite often. That's due to mice that live down there. There's water running down through there. And it's only natural that, in my opinion, that probably the floor has sunk a little bit. And that's what Emily and many of the other people are feeling there that work up in there. It's like this. That should be fixed. I can walk it through there and I'm probably bigger than most, but I can feel the floor giving away when I walk through there. So it does have structural problems. As far as moving staff out, I think we have to, but I think in the long term, the solution that staff has provided is probably not going to work. Because even if we fix it, it's going to be 2 or 3 years before that's done. To build a new building is going to be 2 or 3 years before that's done or more. And I don't think we want to leave it that long. So I would say, you know, this is my opinion, this is a plan A to get people out of there and get an investigation done, but we need to get an RFP done first. And then we go from there and find out really what it is. And it's going to be expensive. But I think we have a responsibility to check out the building because there is maybe historical recognition for that building. I don't know that. But I think we'd be foolish to make a quick decision of whether we take a long thing or not, my opinion. Go ahead, Greg.
Through your worship to you, could you read me exactly what you said the first step for Pinsent was, please?
The conclusion?
I think it was the first.
First,
After conclusion.
after conclusion, priority level 1, comprehensive investigation and repairs. Carry out an intrusive and invasive, review of the structural components where concerns are present after testing for a hazardous substance is completed. So
And that,
basically,
Mr. Mayor, is what this council voted on and instructed the CAO and staff to get an RFP to show us that. Pension's showing that, to telling us that that's the first thing you need to do. So the first thing we should be doing is doing an RFP before we move the staff, before we create a crisis. The raccoon is a nothing. Spend the $4,500, fix the raccoon thing, and we're done with that. Get the RFP done, get a consultant to come in, and it says in there that they have to test the substances to see if we don't know for sure whether when they break open a wall, if there's asbestos there, that until they tell us, and then we'll deal with it. But until we find out what is wrong with the building, why are we moving staff out? I disagree totally. Let's get the RFP done. That was a request from council. And Dave, I respectfully see what you're saying, but you were given instructions to do an RFP and you've chosen not to do that. And to me, in my books, that has to be done first. I disagree with what you're saying. That building's been there for 200 years and Pensions got in there, although no imminent of collapse is visible, they do say you should take a look at everything to make sure. We're going to move staff all over the place. Do we, I guess through you, your worship, to Dave, do we have even a cost of what it's going to cost to move staff? Do you know what it's going to cost to move staff all over? You must have looked at that.
So, Mr. Mayor, Greg, I'm not going to argue with you in council. I respect your opinion. It's not mine. What I would suggest then, the next step for staff, because your department heads have unanimously agreed that this is something that should happen, we'll seek legal opinion and then we can bring that back to council. I am not doing an RFP. I'm not saying that an RFP is not required. I haven't used that language. It absolutely is required. What I'm doing is bringing forward more information to council that is identified and, in my opinion, justified why I made this recommendation. At the same time, it is what we need to do. So we can certainly defer the decision to move staff. I can certainly go back to and make inquiries with respect to legal, Ministry of Labor, Health and Safety, and I can bring all of those decisions that will point us one way or the other back to council. I have no problem with that.
go ahead. Go.
Well, I'm listening. I guess I'm down the road a little bit. You've got, if when they come in, they start poking holes here and there. I don't believe that staff could be in the building because they're in there like sardines to begin with. And so I have watched remediation at the Cobourg Police Service, and it was a big swath where nobody could be there. So, I'm just trying to visually see how this would work, even doing a remediation or to see what is required. So, I mean, once you start poking holes here and there, then you're going to have dust. Then they've got yeah, I would tend to agree with this report. And then also that we would move to get this RFP done and then get the report in to see how much it's going to cost. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Greg.
Just to ask you, Joan, so you saw when they did it at the police station, so obviously you were in the building when you walked by and you saw the remediation, which tells me, and I've seen it before, it can be done. And we're not doing a remediation. Don't misunderstand me. What they're talking about is cutting into drywall to inspect foundation things and that. They're not remediating the asbestos. We're not asking them to do that. So they cut it open, they take photos, the engineer looks at what they have to see, and they close it back up. And you just proved my point. If you walk by it as staff, it's perfectly safe. You
The-
can put it into an RFP that anything that has to be done like that around staff area, that can be done after hours or on the weekend when staff's not there. Then if it comes back to say, it's bad, you know, it's going to collapse or anything, I totally agree with Dave's then to say, then let's get staff out and what are we going to do with the building? But until that time, I think it's premature to move the staff until we know what's going on.
It was, Mayor Logal, it's a lot bigger building, what we're dealing with down there. So where it was big areas that were quarantined off for their remediation. But before that, there was already separation to get to that stage. So I just trying to get it visualized in my head when you start poking holes here and there. If it is safe for the staff to be there while this is all being done.
Mayor Kaplan?
I think if the engineer's there and staff needs moved at that point, we cross that bridge when we get there. For right now, I'm comfortable with the risk as outlined by our CAO at this point.
Wait, go ahead.
Sure.
Go ahead.
Through your mayor to council. To start with then, I'm happy to change my recommendation. Me changing my recommendation, I want council to know is going to cost you thousands. And that is the reason why I brought this recommendation forward, is because we're trying to save money. That's really what it comes down to. So the estimate that we've been provided to test all of our facility buildings where asbestos has been identified in the report due to provincial policy with respect to the audit that was provided for 2023 is $43,000. The municipal building in Grafton is 4,300 itself. So right now you're at 10 grand. So you're 4,500 to fix the raccoon, you're 4,300 to test the walls. And that is before we even begin on what an RFP would be. So I'm quite happy to change my recommendation with your approval. Because you're the ones that need to approve that we will spend that money. So we also will need to know if we're to do that in all of our buildings, and now you're at 60,000. So.
Mayor Catherine?
If you would like to bring that report back to us in writing for reconsideration by council, please do so. I definitely do want to see the asset retirement obligation report that we paid for from Pynchon. Without being able to see what you are talking about, how do we make an informed decision?
You trust staff.
Through you, Mayor, can we also get rid of those trees? Like to stop further issues in front, or can we trim them up so they can't jump from the tree to the roof?
Sorry, just through to Mike, through you, your worship. I was under the understanding one of those trees we don't own. But I would
We
say
could
at
ask.
least trim them back so it makes it impossible that you'd have to have a
Yeah.
Superman raccoon to be able to jump from the tree to the
Our Superman.
the building. But
Something
that's
to,
an idea that you could have them trimmed right back on that side.
Or one that doesn't eat it the last and later.
yeah. Maybe the owners of the inn would let us take that other one also. On the corner. So just something to ask. I'd just like to add that to that whole raccoon
I'm happy to do that.
eviction. We could. Because you can't see the building either. The trees are so big now, you can't even see the flags. So,
Mayor Logal,
Yes.
I just have one more thought. Could we bring this back for the planning meeting at the end of the month? And would we have that report to look at as well? And then consider this whole package then? Or is this something that needs to get dealt with today?
Through your mayor logo. Another 30 days is not going to be an issue. I'd recommend that it's for the council meeting at the beginning of November. It'll be a little bit of time to get the information as to costing on what it is going to be. If you want an RFP created, we can certainly work to create an RFP. I think that we're trying to be ahead of the game, that if it's gonna cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars, I don't. But if you want us to go through that, we can do that. Feels redundant, but we'll do it. The debt retirement that Councillor Neal mentions and the asbestos remediation, yeah, rightfully so, we could put that forward so that you can see that. It identifies a dollar spend, but I don't think it changes what you have at hand.
For the safety.
So, but happy to do it.
Through you, Mayor, again. So in that whole thing, is it possible to, you know, hypothetically thinking this building right here, could we turn it all in, you know, renovate it, put all the offices right here? So essentially, you know, if that one's too bad and we're gonna do everything, can one of our community centers that are poorly attended be used to renovate?
So I think that with what our counselors have presented here today with different requests, I think we can go back and do that, and we'll bring back to another meeting and see if that changes the room.
Mhm.
It's really all we can do.
Yeah.
So to speculate about any other building or any other place at this particular point in time, I don't know if there's appetite in council to want to move staff from the municipal office. What it'll come down to is that to the point of when we have to.
Mhm.
So, and we'll work to get that.
Okay.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, we do have the issue of future council meetings. So right now, council chambers, there is a breach between the attic and the raccoon. They have caused extensive damage to the tin roof in council chambers to the point where there is not a barrier between the attic space and council chambers. So we do have an air quality issue that we are extremely concerned about. That we have notified staff that the second story is off limits for both air quality, but also the damage to the tin roof is showing signs of potential collapse as well. So the recommendation that we move all council meetings to the Centerton Community Center like we're doing today is again, a proactive approach to making sure that nothing happens when we are in there as an effort to protect both council and staff. So that is something, again, procedurally, we do need to, as per our procedure bylaw, tend to in terms of relocating meetings. But given that there is timelines that are beyond our control as staff, that is something that I would be, again, the motion on the floor is asking for it to be relocated until further notice, because again, it's timelines beyond our control, so.
Thank you, clerk, and I don't think there was any real question of whether we can do that or not, but we will take a vote and make sure that everybody is on board. We have a mover and a seconder. We didn't have one.
You do?
Only Mike. We do have a motion to advise the public that we're going to hold our meetings here or another facility until further notice.
Yeah.
And that we're not using the upstairs.
Okay.
So one quick comment on that, your worship, through to either Dave or Emily. So are we going ahead with the $4,500 to get the raccoon situation solved and everything? Because I don't mind voting to say yes, because it says as required or until further notice. So if it takes a week or two and the raccoons are out, then we can go back.
I don't know if we're going to do that yet.
Well, I just heard from the clerk saying that because of the raccoon
No, we're also waiting for some reports too before.
No, that upstairs has nothing to do with the reports. Upstairs has to do with the raccoons. Am I correct?
No, we want to take out the walls, look at the walls in there.
No,
No,
no.
Mr. Mayor, sorry, you're way ahead of yourself. The reason we moved out of upstairs is because of the raccoons right now. We were told $4,500 to fix that. Let's authorize that, fix it, go ahead.
I'm not arguing with that, but I'm saying that their pension report is suggesting that it's not just, they want to check the walls
Right.
all the way through.
So until the RFP comes out, Mr. Mayor, and until that company is ready to go in there, then we can still use it.
through you, Mr. Mayor, to provide clarity, the $4,500 is to do exterior work to make sure the raccoons cannot get back in. So they'll have an exit only hatch if they are in there, as well as remediation of the excessive amount of feces that has been found in the attic. That does not include the cost of repairs that we have yet to get a quote for in fixing the historic designated tin ceiling in council chambers and making sure that it is structurally sound. So that work will still need to be subject to contractors, the procurement bylaw, making sure that we are following that, as well as, again, of course, their timelines, as well as the pest control timelines as well. To your point as well, Councillor Ainsworth, about the trees, we did receive a quote of just shy of $5,000 to both, you know, to deal with the tree issue up front. It does leave some questions as to whether or not that big sugar maple would be structurally sound afterwards if we were to shave it off, if it becomes too front heavy towards Highway 2. So there is some factors to consider there as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, John.
The other, through you, Mayor Logal, the other thing is everything that you've mentioned as far as the raccoons living up there, just to make sure that it is cleaned up and it is safe for us to be in there because of the airborne part of this. That's what I would be concerned with, and the amount of people, if we have some big meetings coming up and the amount of people in there. So I don't know how much that's going to cost. If it's just to get them out and then the remediation of the feces, that would be another cost that we don't know yet.
So
Go ahead.
if I may, just for clarity, the 4,500 includes that remediation of the
does it?
attic space, the cleanup as well.
And they would be able to tell us if the air quality is good and there's no other issues.
We would still be pushing under Ontario Health and Safety Act to make sure that that is a sealed off portion as well, so that there's no airflow between the two spaces, to make sure that we have the best possible air quality, because there could still be, of course, remnants.
In the vents and everything.
Correct, just being a closed space that doesn't necessarily get a lot of airflow to start with. So
Thank you.
that would be another piece of it as well.
Anybody else? Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I, through you, Mayor, so I'm just wondering if we should make a motion for the money to clean the trees up as well, and just kind of get it all done at once.
Well, we got the motion, first motion.
Yeah.
We haven't got one first, and then we can back to it.
Yeah.
And that is that, okay, it's the one that Greg has a problem with, but and the council received report CLK 202429 Grafton Municipal Office in 2024 council meetings for information, and that the council authorized the municipal clerk to schedule all future regular council and regular council planning meetings at the Centerton Community Center or any other location deemed appropriate by the clerk until further notice, and that this resolution of council shall be deemed as serving the public notice of the location change until further notice is required under procedural bylaw 110-2023, section 3-4. It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? And you have a comment?
Well, I was just going to say the way you had read it of staff, and so it's okay. As long as it's just the council meetings, then that will be here. Okay, thank you.
All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you. Mike, you had another one?
Yes, through you, Mayor. So I'd like to make a motion that we give staff the okay to get the contractor to come in and take those trees down in front of the office.
I don't think it's as simple as that.
Okay. Second.
Well, they have a quote already.
Seconder?
For discussion, sure.
Okay. Discussion.
I guess my first question is, do we not have any skilled people in the works department that can trim back some of those trees?
If you want to answer that.
So what? Okay.
So, sorry, through you, Mr. Mayor. Due to the location and proximity to Highway 2, as well as with the hydro poles and the hydro feed from the hydro into the building, the trees are fully encompassing and engulfing those components as well. So at this point, we are recommending a third party.
Okay, makes sense.
Any other questions or comments? All in favor? Motion's carried. Have we resolved everything that's been on the table yet? I don't think we have.
Nope.
Hmm.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to make a motion that we defer the moving of staff until we have an engineer's report that tells us what's wrong with the building.
Second by Mary Catherine. Anybody got any questions or comments? How long is it gonna take us to get that?
The RFP.
We're all up in the air because we don't know. Well, I think the first thing we gotta do is get the RFP out, quickly as we possibly can, and then go from there. And I know I've gotta say, we're putting a little bit of pressure on Dave because you read those reports, it doesn't say it's gonna fall in or nothing like that, but they are saying there's a chance of that type of stuff, so we've got to eliminate that risk as quickly as we possibly can. And if it means moving people out, I'm favoring to do it. But I accept your,
And I have no issue if something drastic happens between now and next council meeting and I don't know, ceiling tiles fall down or something like that and you can prove something else. Otherwise, I'm going from what I read from Pynchon that says collapse is not imminent, but it is important that you get that study done. And that's what I'm asking for. Do the study and then somebody can come in and give us some information. No different than when we're talking about the arena. It's the same thing.
further discussion? It's been seconded by Mary Catherine. All in favor?
Sorry,
Nick.
Mayor Logan, can I just get clarity that the motion is that the relocation of staff from the Grafton Municipal Office be deferred until an engineer's report is received?
Yes, and I guess received and presented to council.
Through your Mayor logo, so that would mean an RFP being done first. And how quickly that can get done and when the report or how long do these engineer reports take? That would be my question to Dave.
He's not gonna know. Doesn't matter if people are busy or not, but.
Well, the RFP part, yeah, would it be 2 months?
I have nothing further to add to the conversation.
Anyone else have any further comments? All in favor? Motion's carried.
Mayor Lobo, could we have 5 minutes, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
We're
I'll
gonna
make that motion.
we're gonna have another motion to continue on past 4 hours.
So, Mayor,
Yes,
we have to be out of here because there's a group thing at 6 o'clock.
okay.
The who?
The facility is ready for 6 o'clock. So if you're going to have
Just
a
a quick
5:45,
5 minutes.
wait 5 minutes. We'll look ahead. Seconded. Councilor Booth, all in favor? Motion carried.
Yeah, small bladder needs the second one.
Good Lord.
Too many copies of TVs. By law, we have to approve going past 4 hours, so can I get mover and second to do that? Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth, all in favor? Motion's carried. We're going on now to communications. And I'll read the motion. And what we'll do is and that is to receive unless you want to pull something out and we want to talk about that. We'll receive them all unless you want to pull them up. And someone up to you. Okay.
Through your Mayor Lobo, are you gonna read them first or you want me to pull it first?
I'll read them first and then we'll just
Okay.
mark off the ones we can't do. Okay, so the agenda items on 15-2 to 15-11 on the October 10th, 2024 regular council meeting agenda be received for information. Mover in the second. Moved by Councillor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Is there any you'd like pulled?
15-2, and that has to do with the waiver request for the Christmas market.
Yep.
And I was talking to the lady that was here, and she said we haven't been here for any waiving of the fees for 4 years, but I did look up that in 2022, the past council had dealt with it. And the two questions I had were,
we just, before we get into that, let's go around through all the ones we want to.
oh,
Okay. Okay, so you can get a move, do you want to move in second? Or you
What?
can move both?
what do you mean? I have to talk about.
Deputy Mayor Stover and seconded by Councillor Booth. Go ahead.
So number one, I wanted to know what, how much this fee is in order to get it waived. And number two, with talking to you, we do have a cost because we are going to be closing that part. And I remember, and I thought it was last year, but maybe it was the year before, where if somebody wants to do a startup then, and it was nonprofit, we would maybe waive it, but not moving forward. So there would be a cost associated to this. So that was just my clarification.
Go ahead.
I guess that's a good point to the deputy mayor. I don't even know what the cost is. I don't know what the cost they're asking us to waive. What is it?
Go ahead, Mike.
Through you, Mayor, I believe there's two costs. There's the $500 deposit and $150 for their permit for the road closure.
So really it's $150
Yes.
because the deposit they get back.
And doesn't our policy call for, because it's a local, that they get 25% off or something like that?
I'd be renting a facility. They're renting a road.
Okay, it doesn't apply apparently, so we want to.
Well-
Yeah, well, what I was saying that that we don't give them the waiver because there is going to be a cost associated with us getting the road closed. And this has been running for 4 or 5 years.
Go ahead, Greg.
So I guess my question again is that's what we're charging them, but what actual cost is to the town? 120, what's the $125 for?
150.
150. Are we paying that to somebody else for them to close it, or is that just a town cost? Because if it's just a town cost, then deputy mayor actually costs us nothing.
Well, my understanding from what I've seen, only seen, is that the public works guys bring down, block off the road at one end and block off the road at the other end. I don't know what else they do, maybe clean up a bit of garbage, and then when it's all over, they pick them up again.
Yeah, but that's not what this permit cost is for, because that wouldn't even cover the cost of one guy for 3 hours. So that's why I'm asking the $150. I have no problem waiving it if it's not, as long as it's not some fee we're collecting because we have to pay to the county or somebody like that. Like
It's not the highway.
it's not a flow through, then it's not a,
Mhm.
Because it obviously doesn't cover for the staff, right? I know it wouldn't cover for the staff to go clean up and everything, so.
Okay. Can you make a motion that we?
Well, I just to have it brought forward here. So, I mean, well, I would say if this organization can block the road off, then we wouldn't be involved in anything with it. But I don't know that yet.
So through you, Mr. Mayor, the application that they're asking for is to waive the fee for the special events permit that we issue. So the fee is associated with the administrative costs of making sure that they have all their Ts and I dotted for proper insurance for using municipal space. There's a whole slew of criteria that's required that we then review and say, okay, it's okay. You're allowed to use the space. So the permit fee that they're asking for waiver is associated with that. Any additional requests for support, whether it's a road closure permit for, from Public Works, that would be subject to whatever fees they have there, but I don't believe they have fees associated with that, but I could be corrected by the CAO and treasurer for road closure.
It's just just the road. Okay. So then if they can block the roads off themselves, then I would say we would support, we would support the waiver then.
So, through your mayor, no, they cannot block them off themselves. It would have to be the township that blocks off the township road.
So. it would be a
And
cost.
then, the other question I have that I think council should try to answer before this, is this a nonprofit organization or is this a for-profit company? That should.
Oh, it's the school.
Mike?
If I can, Mayor, a little bit of history for the school here. So they just bought the property between Glens of Antrim and the school. They now own that. This whole thing is to fence it off, put up 2 field goal posts for football. That's $12,000. Fencing. And, so it's just for them, every little bit counts, right? And, the more we can help them out to achieve their goals, I think it's great. The Christmas, venue is excellent for our municipality. And they do a great job putting that on. So, just a lesser burden on their finances and moving things around and less things to do. So, I mean, I'd be in favor of this.
Need to vote on who to do that. Joan, did you?
Well, yeah, it would be the 150, but would they still have to do the $500 deposit if there were any damages?
I would say yes.
Okay, yeah, I'll make that motion then.
Seconder. Seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? Go ahead, Mayor Catherine.
I'm also in support of this, but I would like our response to include, please, for next year, bring that forward as part of our donations
Budget.
part that we do at the beginning of the year. So we'll say yes to this and get yours in for next year, next month.
If they know,
So
yeah.
Yeah.
Now that they know it.
Motion's carried. Anybody else want to pull any?
Go back. Mayor?
Yes.
A lot of these are the ones that I kind of picked out, and I picked them all out for a reason, but because they all kind of made sense just for municipalities and part of the county stuff. So, if can we endorse all those,
That's what your request is.
right? Because they all make kind of sense. Well, the Baxter one is
I have
Yeah.
marked off, just so you know, I have marked off 15-2, 15-5, 15-6, 15-7. And 15-10.
Yeah, but I mean, the exotic animals, so we have that issue right here. We have the fella up there on Cranberry Lake Road with all those. So I think that needs to be addressed.
What do you want to do with 15-11?
The notice of the control burn. Shoot,
Mhm.
Just for information.
Yep.
Yeah.
You're gonna go ahead and do it.
So what you're asking for, Mike, is that 15.3, 15.4, 15.5, 15.6, 15.7, 15.8, 15.9, 15.10, and 15.11, pardon me, 15.10 are all going to require the staff respond and send a letter to the appropriate officials, whether that be the province or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, declaring the intimate partner of violence, I mean, that's something that we should support. And the physician for the Ontario's, I mean, we support that through monetary issues now. The investments of the municipal infrastructure for the Northumberland County, the resolution support for promote to the resume assessment cycle. That those are all things that involve us. Sterling Rowden's, the public sector salary disclosure, I think that's just should be common sense. And the exotic ammo, and then the support for the tweed and the OPP funding would be great,
I think that was all of them, correct?
pretty much.
Gary Catherine, you second?
No, I think for sure on the AMO one with the health, we have already supported that one.
Mhm.
So I'm a little bit concerned. I think we did the intimate partner violence
we've
one
done
as
that.
well. Some of these have come before us and I believe we've already done letters of support.
Getting off subject a little bit, we need a seconder to support all of those. And then if you want to discuss them, we can. Can I get a seconder for Mike's motion?
To okay all these.
Yeah.
Councillor Booth, your second?
Yes.
Thank you.
And
Dave?
a comment is just what, as long as we haven't sent it to them already supporting something. So I agree with what Mary Catherine said. They're all good things. I agree, Mike, but we would have to double check because memory's bad that
Okay.
did we send something already for spousal thing or whatever, or
You did several.
then we wouldn't want to send another one, right?
So that can be handled. Any other questions? All in favor? Motion's carried. We're gonna move on to bylaws. First bylaw is 16.1, bylaws 44, number 2024. Repeal of bylaws and appoint members to committees. And that is recommended the council of the corporation of the township of Allen McCullum enact as follows: that bylaw 44-2024 being a bylaw to repeal bylaws 63-2023 and 72-03 and appoint committee members to be given a first, second, and third reading and finally pass this 10th day of October 2024. Mover to seconder. Moved by Deputy Mayor Stover. Seconded by Councilor O'Neill. Any comments? Go ahead, Councilor O'Neill.
Just that for the West Northumberland Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, that one had a term on it because we were not sure we were going to continue. Now that we've made the decision to continue, we probably, it would make sense to me to leave Grit, but we do need a member from the public to represent on that for the coming year. And so I would say we should leave the person who's already been there for 2 years.
Making a motion to do that?
Sure, I think that would be an amendment, but yeah, an amending motion then.
So could I just get clarification? These people have been on their at their posts. So is this just covering it for 2024? And if we decided not to have certain people, is this where you would say not to do it?
So this is the cleanup of the existing bylaw due to the resignations that we've received throughout the year. So this is just making sure that's up to date. So we have our current members affiliated with their appointments. It's also to appoint Haley Langley, who was appointed at our last meeting to sit on the
Okay,
Heritage
all right.
Committee meeting.
Thank you.
Through you, Mayor. So looking at this, I'm just kind of wondering, like, there's enough people on that board now. Do we really need anybody else on it?
Which board is that?
If you're talking about the library board, Councillor O'Neill?
No, it was the physician recruitment. Remember, we said we weren't sure that we were going to continue, so there was a term
Yeah.
on that one, but now that we've decided to continue, I'm saying we can remove that there.
So at this point, if you're looking to make a change to the bylaw, I would do an amendment to this to amendment to this resolution, which is approving the bylaw. Do an amendment that would then be to remove the,
That because we are,
correct,
because we've decided to remain.
correct. And then your bylaw that you would come back to would be to approve bylaw 2024 as amended.
Correct.
And if I may, I would like to not move this. I would ask for somebody else to move it.
It hasn't been moved.
Or did I bring
No,
it
pardon me,
on?
You did. Pardon me.
I'd like to remove myself
Okay.
from that, please.
Okay, so Mary Coffin, you seconded. Can somebody else move it? Moved by Councilor Booth. Seconded by Councilor O'Neill. All in favor? Motion's carried. Now, you wanted to make an amendment, Mary Coffin?
I think we voted on the amendment first, I
Okay.
think.
Yeah.
Yes, so it says
Okay,
here.
hold on, let me get cut off. I know we're trying to get out of here for the next group coming in, but let's
Okay. You just, you would have to.
Okay, so the amendment was remove the time frame for the West Northumberland Physicians Recruitment Board, and that was moved by Councillor O'Neill, seconded by,
Councilor Booth, all in favor? Motion is carried. Is that okay?
sure.
I don't want to rush it. And then Mike, you had a concern?
No,
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, hold on, we have one more here.
Yeah, I know.
We jumped the gun a little bit. That's okay, we're getting there. So the amended motion to call the vote on would be that bylaw 44-2024 as amended, being a bylaw to repeal bylaw 63-2023 and 70-2023 and appoint committee members, be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 10th day of October. So that was initially moved by Councillor Booth and seconded by Councillor O'Neill.
Okay. All in favor? Motion is carried. Okay. Next, we got bylaw number 71-2024 to reduce speed limit on Baxter Road to 50 kilometers an hour. A bylaw 71-2024 being a bylaw to reduce the speed limit on Baxter Road to 50 kilometers an hour, be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 10th day of October 2024. 24. Moved and seconded. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. All in favor? That's carried. Next one is bylaw 2024, execute agreement with Egg Isle Infrastructure. That bylaw 72-2024 being a bylaw to authorize the mayor and the clerk to execute an agreement with Egg Isle Infrastructure, be given a first, second, and third reading, and finally pass this 10th day of October 2024. Mover and seconder. Moved by Councillor Booth, seconded by Councillor Ainsworth. Any discussion? All in favor? That's carried. Okay, the rest of we're going to go into close.
I was looking at 73-2024. A bylaw to confirm the proceedings of an emergency council session meeting held on Thursday, October 10th.
We can take our emergency out of there.
Okay, so we're going to close. I need to move in a second to go to close. Moved by Councilor Ainsworth, seconded by Deputy Mayor Stover. All in favor? Motion carried. Remind other staff to stick around.
Yeah, they're fine.
Anybody have any problem with that?